Hi, welcome to another consonant analysis. This analysis is on the subject of R. Kelly, who's in the news at the moment, and he's been in the news for, well, a good few months anyway, at least. So what I decided to do was analyse a line from one of his songs, and the song is "I Believe I Can Fly." And the extract I've taken is the first line. "I used to think that I could not go on." In summary, the interpretation that I've given, the markers that I pulled out, is the analysis indicates that in the area of relationships, relationships commence with boundaries and courting, but ultimately devolve into broad-scale restriction and attack under the aegis of ambivalence, which basically means, in layman's terms, in summary, relationships are a mental activity to get what you want by stealth. So in terms of comments, what I've got is one, communication. The imagery in the video shows a bird and a child, presumably about 1 or 2 years old. A parallel between these two is that neither of them can be understood. They might try in vain to tell you something, but as in the video, they just have to get on with life on their own, knowing that nobody can understand their situation. So that's something that I pulled out. Obviously, those particular artifacts or those particular things are in the video for a specific reason. They're not just put there for no reason. And to me, that's what they symbolise. It's somebody trying to say something, but they're sort of like chained up. They can't actually tell you what it is that they want to tell you. And with regards to, I'm going to talk about direction. With regards to movie direction, there's a channel on YouTube called Every Frame a Picture. And his videos are a bit old now. I don't think he's updated them recently, but he's done one video where he concentrates on direction. So what he states is that movie directors, what they tend to do is if somebody's right in the situation, they've got the upper hand, or they've got the positive message, you usually see them on this side of the screen and they're looking in that direction. So they're on the left-hand side of the screen, but they're looking right, yeah? Whereas with people on the right-hand side of the screen, they tend to be the person that's at some sort of disadvantage, and they tend to be looking left. And what you'll notice in the video is the child is coming from this direction, whereas the eagle is looking towards that direction, or the bird, I presume it's an eagle. And it's obviously there's a reason for that. It's direction. So what that indicates to me is, rightly or wrongly, that the child is correct, but the animal is not. The animal is trying to get away. So it's like the human being is trying to be a human being, and the animal side of itself is trying to get rid of that because it doesn't want it. So point 2, production. This is a small. Oh, I've just mentioned that. Point 3. I've put, judging by the 94 songs that the subject produced in his own right, it seems that he takes a keen interest in direction. So from the markers, one of the things that came out was this thing about being in control and methodical and managing. And that certainly comes across with the fact that he's produced 94 videos or songs himself, in which he was the one that actually did the production. I mean, usually what you find with, well, I don't know, I mean, it's 50-50. A singer, they could be the songwriter and the producer, or other people could be delegated those roles. They're just the voice. They do the singing. But in his case, he's been quite involved in the process. I noticed in the markers there was 2. It's a small issue, a small matter, but there were 2 references to animals. One is to with regards to mounting, as in mounting an animal, like a riding beast. And then the other is with regards to immolating, which means burning something, something's dead, but then you burn it. And in any case, I noticed when I was looking on Google that Kelly's got a title, a video which is entitled "The Zoo," And when you actually look at the lyrics, they're quite bawdy and, sort of like slightly explicit. And they're in stark contrast anyway to this video that he's written about, I believe I can fly. And that dichotomy, that sort of like split, you do actually get in this analysis. There's a stark split between being good and heavenly and angel-like, and then being demonic. And you'll notice that when I come to the themes. Point 5, violence. I considered that if these allegations were true, I would expect them to contain some description of how the acts took place, because all I've been hearing about so far is R. Kelly did this, R. Kelly did that. He's always been locked up. But I mean, even in the interview with Gail Kelly, which I'm preparing for next week, there wasn't much about what, obviously, because she sat talking to the actual individual. There wasn't much about the acts, the graphic details, which you would expect. So when I did some searching on the internet, I found out that indeed there was reference to, quote, rough and painful sex. So I've put this fits the markers related to roughness and bodily positioning in this analysis. There's a fair amount of that. And the reason why I originally asked the question, why is it that the victims aren't telling us what actually happened, in some sort of like detail, if indeed they were there and they experienced it. 6, hotels. It did cross my mind that if the subject was engaging in courtship behaviours with multiple women, as the markers could be interpreted to indicate, the only place I could think he would be able to do that would be a hotel. So I googled R. Kelly hotel, and multiple articles appeared on the subject, including his girlfriends being thrown out of the Trump Tower just last month, and accusations of plying women with alcohol. Oh dear. Number 7, connections. There are some markers that this analysis shares. This subject shares with the inventor Samuel Morse and the serial killer Peter Sutcliffe, which could indicate that what all notable personalities in history possessed was the combined characteristic of creativity. So creativity is just basically where you take something and you do something with it. You do something else with it. Something which it shows sort of like intelligence, or there's like thought behind it. Now, obviously, I'm not venerating criminals and saying that what they do is right, but you can see like there's a link there. With like these 3 individuals. One is an inventor, one is an alleged rapist or a singer, songwriter, and the other is the serial killer. And what they all have in common is this ingenuity, or this ability to do things, or to change a situation in some way. So that's just something that I picked out, because as I'm going through analyses, I'm finding patterns between the different subjects that I'm studying, and noticing, that exists there and that exists there, and trying to find connections. Point 8, relationships. From what I know of R. Kelly's pampered upbringing and not having a father around, I would say that he is a classic case of sparing the rod and spoiling the child. It seems from this analysis that his relationships are based on behaving as necessary to experience comfort or self-fulfillment, which in of themselves are laudable goals, so long as they are not at the expense of one's own dignity or the rights and dignity of others. And if the allegations are true, it certainly bears out. From what I know of this person, from what I've read, he seems to have had a life of ease and enjoyment, and obviously that's gone to whatever degree it's gone. And as with that type of a lifestyle, or any type of a lifestyle, what you tend to find is that there's a progression. Things progress, and they either get better or get worse. And I'm not quite sure in his case which direction his situation has gone in. Okay, so with regards to this analysis, I did a forwards and backwards analysis because the number of consonants were quite short. If you don't know what that means, by watching my previous videos, what it means is I'm doing a consonant analysis, so I'm extracting the consonant sounds from an extract of speech, In this case, the first line of Kelly's song, "I Believe I Can Fly," and then I'm reading them in the direction that they appear. And then what I'm doing is I'm reversing the consonants, the order of the consonants, and reading them again. And the reason why I do a reverse analysis is because it tends to yield an underlying meaning. In other words, a meaning that the speaker intended, but was trying to say something else. They're not actually making that clear to the person who's actually listening. And usually it's quite telling. The forward analysis I've done in this case because it maximises the yield. It sort of like gives me more data points or more consonants to work with. And it usually provides something which is insightful as well. So what I've done is I've grouped the markers into themes. You'll find in the report below, which I've left for your reading leisure, that I've listed all of the markers. And what I've done is I've just categorised them under themes to make it easier to actually digest the information. So for markers 1 forwards, I've got themes. 1, work, business, determination, homesickness, niggardliness, perpetuation, potential, trade and valuation. Themes 2, relationships. 1, arousal, babbling, closeness, flattery, forgiveness, kindness, lovesickness, mutuality, praise, purification, tenderness, whispering. Relationships 3, that's point 3, attack, censure, desecration, deterioration, disease, misery, molestation, pollution, rejection, reservation, and self-doubt. And as you can see, it's like I said earlier, there's a stark difference between relationships 1 and relationships 2. It's almost like Jekyll and Hyde. And sort of like bringing those two together. In relationships 3, we've got concealment, deception, duplicity, exclusion, ignorance, and pretense. So that's what keeps it all together, the secrecy and the pretense side of things. I'm saying I'm like this, but I'm not really. I'm actually like this, but I'm not going to tell you that. With regards to markers 2, this is the backwards or reverse analysis now. Again, I've grouped the themes. So we've got boundaries, equality, fettering, intrusion, penetration, reconciliation, and solidarity. So that's all about a violation, and lack of violation, keeping boundaries, and then breaking the boundaries. 2, decomposition, disarray, memory, putrefaction, reprehension, and shame. That's all like negative qualities associated with, deterioration of a condition. So the way I would interpret that is somebody tries to maintain something as long as they can, but eventually it just breaks down. And obviously, if something's not based on truth, then eventually that's what's going to happen. Number 3, determination, devotion, intensity, self-assured, toiling, wealth. So this sort of like is talking about somebody being driven and determined to get through life to achieve what they want. Number 4, concealment, lies, and snatching away. And again, it's a similar theme to markers 4 in the forward analysis with regards to not giving people insight into the full situation. Marcus themes 5, astuteness, intelligence, lies, memory. So this is all about cognition, about thinking, thinking things through. And it certainly does seem that it's a sham basically, and things are just being thought through. They seem nice on the surface, but when you look underneath, there's nothing there. Number 6, flocking of groups of people, contentment, correspondence, and flirtation. And all of those markers are connected with the fans and the singing on stage. And there have been reports of girls being taken up to the stage and going backstage with R. Kelly, etc. So this is all consistent with that type of arena. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Like I've said, the report for this analysis is in the description below. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like, share and subscribe. Like I said, I've got an analysis coming up of R. Kelly, so watch out for that. And hope to see you in the next analysis.